everyone, welcome back. So I'm going to jump into doing TBRs again because I want to participate in Becca and the Book's Bookopalathon that is going to take place over the whole month of September. I will link her video kind of explaining all of that down below if you're interested in trying it out for yourself. But basically I did 7 rolls for it, and let's just look at this kind of ambitious TBR that I've selected based on that. My first roll was a 5, and from that landed me on the space of spring, and so that's like a book that reminds you of it, whether it's in the cover, in the themes, etc. Just something that reminds you of spring. For that, I'm going to be reading Wizard of the Grove by Tanya Huff. This is technically an omnibus, so it's 2 separate books within it specifically. We've got Child of the Grove and The Last Wizard. Both feature Crystal here. She is the wizard and the Child of the Grove. I was thinking this has spring vibes kind of because of the nice like pastel-y cover, but also Crystal, this main character, is the child of hamadryads, so people that live like in trees and are spirits of trees and stuff, and that just has very spring vibes for me. So that's what I'm going with for my first roll. And then my second roll, I got an 11, so the space I landed on with that is a favorite trope. And for this one, I'm playing a little fast and loose with the idea of a trope because it's not a trope that's like written within the story, but I feel like it still meshes well. What I have picked is Strawberries and Crime, which is a mystery book, and how it is a favorite trope is because of this title here, this Strawberries and Crime. I love that the mystery genre has so many books that play with titles and have these fun sort of tropey, punny, playful titles. Because obviously this title, for example, is a play on like Strawberries and Cream, Strawberries and Crime. So that's the trope that I'm going for here, is in the title of a mystery novel, because it's just one of my favorite things. It always makes me laugh. And also this book looks really cute. It's got a little like piggy in it and stuff, so I'm looking forward to it just for that aspect of it too. So there's that. Then my next roll I got was a 9. And from that one I ended up on a book that reminds me of autumn. And so in this case, we've got another omnibus coming, but that goes with some of my other things that I'm working on, and that is Diana Wynne Jones' The Chronicles of Chestermancy, technically Crestomancy, but I've always pronounced it Chestermancy. It's got the pronunciation in the book, but my brain calls it Chestermancy. Anyways, so the 2 books that are in this are Charmed Life and The Lives of Christopher Chant. And yeah, I feel like this cover has very nice autumn vibes with the orange cat and the kind of like farmland scene in the background. You think of like harvest season and stuff like that. So that's where this comes from. And yeah, so that's my autumn book for this. Then my next was another 9. So for this next roll, that was the second 9 that I got in a row, I landed on multi-perspective. So for this one, I'm going with another mystery book that I have very briefly started, but I'm not very far in. But it's how I knew it was a multi-perspective, because I've already started it. But this is Cat Playing Cupid, which is another mystery one that kind of has some of that fun, silly trope stuff like I was saying with the other one. But also the cats in this are helping like solve the mysteries, and they're like talking cats, but only certain people know they can talk, kind of a thing. It sounds very fun and delightful, and it's been interesting so far, and I'll be curious to see how the rest of the story plays out too. So that is my multi-perspective book. Then the next category that I ended up on, I rolled a 7, which landed me on the space of the lowest rating, which was basically pick a book that is the lowest rated on your Goodreads TBR. And this one I'm actually really excited for. It was a 2.9 on Goodreads, but it's a Lemony Snicket book, and there was a time where I just like added all of his books to the Goodreads, which is why this was on there. But it's a quick, short little one, and I just think it'll be fun. I've enjoyed all of Lemony Snicket's books, so I'll probably rate it higher than a 2.9 just for that. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited to see how this one plays out, especially compared to that rating on Goodreads. So that's my lowest rated. Then the next one I got from there was an 11. So for the 11, what I ended up with was a poll pick, and if you've been following some of my other TBRs and things, you'll know that I've been trying to read some more nonfiction or have like at least one fiction book a month. So I was like, oh, poll pick, this will be the perfect place to decide what nonfiction I want for the month. So this was the selection of books that I had that I put on my poll in this literary Wonderlands. We've got Phantoms in the Brain, The Frog with Self-Cleaning Feet, and When Broken Glass Floats. So just to give you an idea of what people were choosing from for this poll, we've got When Broken Glass Floats, which is a memoir about living in the Khmer Rouge. So just kind of a turbulent time period and things like that, and I love memoir anyways, so I thought that would be a fun one to get into. If people voted for me to pick it, it would have been a fun one. Then The Frog with the Self-Cleaning Feet is just a fun animal science book. It talks about some extraordinary adaptations that animals have. Obviously, there will be some focus on frogs, which are a personal favorite. So that's why I put this one on there. And then we've got Phantoms in the Brain, which is about a scientist who studies people who've lost limbs, and so the phantoms in the brain are like that experience of phantom limbs and stuff, and there's like some experiments of, can we make that sensation go away, when does it come back, if we can get it to go away, that kind of thing. So it sounded really fascinating from like a sciencey perspective. And then the other one that was on this list was Literary Wonderlands, which is just a fun book that talks about a bunch of different fictional places. So I was like, that would be a fun light read to just read about some fun fictional places. But the one of my poll picks I had posted on the Bookopalathon Twitter, and the one was Phantoms in the Brain. So I'm going to be reading about phantom limbs in the month of September, and it'll be a lot of fun, I think. I'm actually really looking forward to it. It's one that I think will be a very interesting read. And then my second to last roll was an 8, which landed me on TBR game. And so that essentially meant that you watch someone else's TBR video, and I think technically the way it was phrased in the rules was that then you pick a book that they picked from their TBR game. But I ended up playing with that a little bit. I watched Kailani Reed's video, and she does a bingo TBR, so I kept track of all her different prompts that she got in that particular TBR video, as well as the books. And the one I watched, the majority of the books that she got were sequels, and I hadn't read the first ones, so in that sense I wasn't sure if it was a great fit. But one of the categories that she got was a favorite author, and if you've been following me this year, I'm trying to read through all of my Diana Wynne Jones books. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick the favorite author based on her TBR game, and we're going to read another volume of Chestermancy. This is volume 2 that contains the books Magicians of Caprona and Witch Week, which I've just been kind of craving reading both of these recently anyways, so I was like, this is a perfect excuse to throw them on my list and to read them. So that's why I've got a second one on here of that. And then my final roll was a 9. And this one was like a bonus roll technically, because my 8 was a 4 and a 4, and if you roll doubles then you get an extra roll based on the Bookopalathon rolls. So for my last one, I hit a 9, and the category that I got was Features a Death. So I was like, you know what? I'm still in the middle of Each of Us a Desert, and there was some death in this, so we're going to go with this one. So that's my final book for my Bookopalathon. Hopefully I'll actually finish it. I have been really enjoying it, but I've just been reading really slowly recently, as you may have noticed from the fact that I have pretty much posted no videos for August. And just from my last video, if you watched that and heard me talk about some of that too. But anyways, that's my Bookopalathon TBR. I would be very curious to hear if you're participating in Bookopalathon and what your TBR is, if you are. If you happen to have read any of these and have any thoughts on how my month might go with these, any and all of that, feel free to comment down below. I think that's all I've got for now. This is the Umlaut Harper signing out.